Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Cork It podcast. My name is Kyle. I'm back joined by
Dante Ellison,
Nico Genovese.
and we are excited to get back into this episode. We're getting back into our groove of things, trying to get these weekly episodes out.
Yeah.
I know. Nico's a little tired today, so we'll see.
I got interrupted from a nap to go film today.
Yeah, but aren't you excited?
Dedication, guys. Dedication.
Dedication to the grind. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now. We've got, college football, NBA preseason. The NBA is getting ready to start here in a couple weeks. Hockey is getting ready to start the preseason. Is it over yet? Or did they just play their last game?
Yeah, people were playing their last preseason game as, I think there's, regular season started in Prague. I don't know where that is, but
Prague,
wherever that is.
Yeah, it's in Europe.
Yeah, so it's already kicked off, but people just finished up. Most teams finished up their last preseason game. So
Nice. Well, yeah, so there's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming up, a lot of content that we're going to have to hit. But right now, we just got football and college football mostly to focus on, although I do want to talk a little bit about basketball, the Draymond Green situation, because that came out this week. In practice, he had an altercation with Jordan Poole. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, around the league, we saw a lot of stuff happen this past week. If you checked out our TikTok that we posted yesterday, you would see that Nico got a little disproven by his bet with Dominic earlier.
Congrats to the New York Jets beating a third-string rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Well-deserved win. Zach Wilson,
Maybe
200 yards, no TDs. Great quarterback play.
maybe your team just stinks.
Torch backup cornerbacks.
I don't know if Dante could
Well-deserved.
Dante could talk about teams stinking when.
What was the
Hey,
score of that
the
Bills
Bills are a
game?
good team.
What was the score of the Bills game?
38-3.
That's rough. Although I'm not in any position to talk because we lost to the Giants.
Giants
this
are
week.
doing pretty good, though. No surprising me. Saquon's looking pretty
I
good.
don't know, bro.
Saquon's
Saquon
looking
had
pretty
he had
good.
70 rushing yards. Let's not get out of our hand. Let's not get out of hand here.
His previous 3 games, though, before that have been pretty good.
Yeah, but
Hasn't been too bad.
I hate it because I'm like, oh, I want to be like, well, look, they played garbage teams before that, but then they beat us, so it doesn't look good on us to say that. So, but I would say this is like their first good win because the rest are Bears, Panthers, Titans. So, good job, Giants.
Yeah.
Good job, Daniel Jones, for tearing apart our defense. Anyways, that's all going on. We've got the NCAA football still happening, college football. Did you see James Madison's ranked?
Yeah.
This is their
25.
first season as an FBS school, and now they're ranked 25th in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they deserve it. I mean, it's nice that they're undefeated, but they've also played really, really bad teams, and it's not anything crazy. I think they haven't done anything crazy yet for them to get that ranking, but they are ranked. So shout out to the Dukes and James Madison. That's pretty exciting for them. Other news: Ohio State moved up to number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's been something we've been kind of waiting on for a while, especially just the fact that they keep dominating on the field and Alabama keeps having these close wins, along with Georgia too, having that really close win against was it Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
No, Missouri. It was Missouri.
I thought it was Vanderbilt.
It was Missouri.
Okay.
It was a bad team. So I was waiting for Ohio State to make their way up into the rankings there, but that's pretty exciting. I saw this other thing too. It was the ACC having 4 teams in the top 25, which is pretty impressive, just because as of late they haven't been a very incredible football conference. And then the Big 12, they've got 5. Or actually, I think it's less now. I think last week it was 5, but Kansas is still up there. Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU. I'm not sure if Texas is up there yet.
Yeah, 20.
Are they 22?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if that was this week's or if it was last week's, but
There's some good
oh, they
games.
won the Red River Shootout 49-0. That was crazy. I was pretty impressed by that. And then Ohio State number 2, Penn State 10, Michigan 5. I want to do a quick little shout out though. I want to go into the MAC real quick, just because we don't talk about the MAC that much, and the MAC is a fun conference. So Buffalo absolutely beat the brakes off of, it was Bowling Green, and they're 3-0 in the conference, which is pretty impressive. Ohio's 1-1 in the conference now, along with Miami, Kent State, Bowling Green's 1-1 as well. Akron's 0-2. That's just in the East. But I do have to say, like, I'm very impressed by what I'm seeing from Ohio. We all go to Ohio University, go Bobcats. I'm really impressed by what we're seeing from this team. I want to talk about them a little bit because this was a team that went 3-8 last year, and it's week 6, and they already have 3 wins and are looking pretty solid in season matchup. I did want to shout this out because our quarterback is 5th in the nation for passing yards, and he's like 15th for passing touchdowns. Like, he's having a very, very good year. And I'm pretty excited about it because all of these transfers that we got from wide receiver, we had a wide receiver transfer from OSU who's doing pretty good. We had a wide receiver transfer from Vanderbilt who's doing good, as well as a wide receiver transfer from like a really small school in Missouri. But he's coming here just like destroying and tearing things up. So that's a lot of fun. Our running back had 4 touchdowns the other day against Akron. He was put in like a top 10 performances of the week for running backs. So this team's looking pretty solid right now, and I would love to see them make some noise in the MAC East, although I think it's going to be tough with Buffalo there because Buffalo has a very, very, very strong football program. Yeah. And although they are 3-3 right now, they are 3-0 in conference matchups. So it should be interesting as time goes on in that. Toledo looks pretty solid, though, in the West. Ball State looks good as usual, but it should be interesting to take a look at that. But Curtis Rourke, 5th in passing yards for college for the FBS, so that's pretty exciting stuff. All right, let's jump into things real quick. Let's talk first. I want to talk about Draymond Green first because that came out in the news. TMZ got a leaked practice video from the Warriors of Draymond Green sucker punching Jordan Poole on the sidelines of a practice. It's not revealed like what was said between the two, but it did show Draymond Green like knocking him to the ground with a punch to the face. So first off, I know that we've seen some stuff about Jordan Poole before this, basically saying that, you know, it was coming out that the Warriors don't like how he's kind of cocky and he's too confident and all this stuff. And then you see the video come out from TMZ. What are your initial thoughts on all this?
I am surprised Draymond did that because, I mean, it's talked in the NBA all the time how fights break out, but it's mainly just like verbal stuff or just shoving altercations and stuff. But never really like full-blown punches like that, especially from a seasoned vet like Draymond who's been on the Warriors his whole career. Supposedly, besides Steph, one of the leaders on that team. So, I mean, again, we don't know what Jordan Poole said. All we saw was the shove Poole gave Draymond, and then Draymond answered back with a punch. But I feel like
that shove didn't warrant like a punch. It was more of like a shove, like get out of my face.
Yeah, no, it'd be a different story if Poole threw a first punch and then Draymond answered. But like
he was like,
I don't think
hothead.
Yeah, I don't think Jordan deserved to get socked like that just because. Again, we don't know what he said, but just because of a push like that, like.
I think I'm more disappointed with the lack of leadership in the Warriors like organization. I think that like Draymond Green used to be looked at as like a good leader. Like
he still was up to that video.
He was still looked up to as a good leader up until that video comes out. But that's like way too out of bounds. That's like the worst thing you can do for like team morale. It's the worst thing you could do for your locker room presence. Like. And the fact is that, like, the other thing, too, is that, like, if you watch that video, I know that he shouldn't have, like, ran over there, but, like, you also like to think of Steph as a leader. Yeah. And it just seemed like he was, like, not present for that, I guess. And, like, it seems like if this seems like something that has been building up over time, and you think that someone in leadership on the Warriors team would have done something before this would have happened. You know what I'm saying?
I think the only excuse I would give Steph, like, in the video would be, like, I mean,
well, no, I don't think.
And then the coaches immediately.
No, I'm not saying that he needs to step in. I'm saying the fact that like this even got to that point. You know what I'm saying? Where Draymond's throwing a punch.
I mean, you can say all you want, but if Poole's consistently saying stuff to Draymond or something, no matter what Steph says,
I know
things
it's
still
not on
get
Steph,
heated.
but I'm just saying, I'm not
I
saying
get
it's
what you're
on
saying,
Steph.
like,
I'm
Steph
saying that like there needs to be, I'm saying that it just seems like there's not a leader.
Yeah.
Like the fact that this is happening,
Yeah.
right? You would think that if there was good leadership on this team from like veterans, or in this case, the only reason I'm using Steph as an example is because he's their best player, their point guard, supposedly their leader.
Yeah.
I'm saying that like as a leader, I feel like there would be a different presence in this locker room where like he wouldn't be talking like to Draymond in that fashion. Draymond wouldn't be getting hot-headed and throwing a punch at him. So I think that's my whole point, is that it's not like on him for directly. I'm just saying
But
like
it's
it
something he
seems
maybe
like
could've
the
done.
Warriors have a lack of leadership in their locker
And I mean,
room.
who knows? Like Steph could have been saying stuff,
You're right.
and then it still got to that point. But
Nobody. We're not going to know unless we're in the locker room. Although I do think that there's no chance you start the season with both these guys on the same team after this comes out. I just feel like there's no way that you can have that kind of altercation in practice and then have it publicized and just move on.
I feel like
it's tough.
It's tough, but I just feel like in the Warriors situation right now, you're not getting rid of Draymond.
Mm-mm.
He's been there your whole career, and no matter how, like, if he was being like cocky and arrogant and all that in practice, Jordan Poole is a rising talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the Warriors getting older, Steph is late mid-30s, Draymond's getting up there, Clay's getting up there, dealing with injuries and stuff. You need a young talent like
Right.
that. So I feel like, I mean, I would keep them both, honestly. Like, I don't think I would, just because, yes, it got leaked, which is bad.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go in extreme measures yet. Just be like, okay, we're going to be trading Jordan Poole. Especially if it does, because like conferences have been out, Draymond's apologized, Draymond's taken a step away. Like, if things get handled like internally with the team, I think.
But
okay,
you understand that all of that is in a sense for show because it got publicized. Like, do you think
100%.
he's going like to apologize to him and all this stuff?
It has to be for show though.
It's all for show, and that's fine. That's fine. But I'm saying, do you think that tensions will actually be cleared up, like for sure? Because I think the way I see this is that the fact that it was publicized, everything coming out after it is almost just because other people saw it. Do you think that Draymond, if this wasn't like made into a huge media thing and made into this huge debate topic, do you think he takes a leave of absence from practices?
Yes.
You think he does?
I think I used to hate Draymond because the way he's on the court, but I've seen him a lot, like the stuff he does outside the court, and just he has like his own show and stuff, and just seeing him talk about the game and stuff. I've grown to like him, and like I like him outside of basketball, but I think he is the type of, again, bad example would just happen, but I think he is that type of leader and that type of guy to be like, look, I screwed up. This is not good for the team, not good for Jordan. I'll step away. And then I do think he's apologizing to Jordan, even if it didn't leak. Like, I think he's doing all the right steps. With the press conferences and stuff, him talking about it, yes, that's for show. He's obviously not going to tweet about it or talk about it outside of basketball saying, yes, I punched Jordan Poole in the face and we're talking about, like, no, he's not doing that. But I do think he's the type of leader and guy, especially with him being the vet on the team, to fix it and do what he needs to do to fix morale on the team.
Yeah. I think that's a good way of looking at things. However, for the sake of conversation, let's say the Warriors decide like, oh, our locker room chemistry is so bad and Jordan Poole's trade value is so high. If we are choosing to value Draymond over Poole, where would you like to see Jordan Poole end up?
I mean, I'm gonna be biased here and say Lakers. I think.
Oh my
think about it. Think about it.
What?
Just because
How's he getting to the
assets?
Lakers?
I'm just talking. I would like to see him, not like I'm not
okay.
talking about assets and trade and stuff. I'm just saying where I would like to see him. I can get into real stuff later, but the Lakers are getting old too. I mean, LeBron's season 20, 80 is a big. We don't really have. Russ is getting older. We have Pat Bev as our guard right now, getting older. Not really any good shooters. So I think for the Lakers with their team now, a young guy like Jordan Poole who can handle the ball well, attack the rim well, shoot the ball pretty well, I think it'd be a good fit. Now, asset-wise, yes, it's obviously not working now because the Warriors are not going to – all we could trade away is bad young guys or guys who were good but now they're old. So, obviously, it wouldn't work out. But fit-wise, just looking at it, I think he would be a good fit with LeBron and AD on that Lakers team.
Something to keep in mind here is that, well, first off, right after this punch thing all happened, he went out and scored like 25 points against the Lakers in 23 minutes.
Yeah.
And then Steve Kerr in an interview said that they haven't worked out an extension for him yet long term, and they have to decide within this week if that's going to happen or not. Dante, what do you think? Where would you like to see Jordan Poole play if they decide to move on? This is all a big what if. We're just speculating here.
Just like thinking about all the teams, I would like to see him on the Heat. Because, I mean, you have Kyle Lowry getting older. I mean, you have Hero. You have Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, but you're
Bam.
going to have to give up Hero in that trade.
And they just
There's no shot you
Well, like he
keep
said,
both.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it's just-
thinking of. I'm not thinking of assets. In
I don't think
trades
we're
right
really
now.
thinking of trades
like,
right now, but just good fits.
I think they would be like a really big force in the East, and maybe even like favorites to win the East if they got him.
I was gonna say another one I would like is the Hornets. I think him and LaMelo Ball would be fun to watch. I think
that could
a good duo.
That could definitely be fun. I'm going to go a different way. I'm going to say Denver. I think Denver needs just a bucket getter. Because, I mean, Jamal Murray's been out.
Jamal's a bucket, dude.
Well, he is. Okay, I haven't seen him play in 2 seasons. 2 seasons? Once full season? 1.5 seasons?
Yeah.
He's been out for a while.
Yeah.
So we'll see when he comes back. He is a bucket getter, so we'll see when he comes back. But I'm saying Denver would be a cool spot. And then I think another cool spot would be, like, Minnesota. I don't know how the fitting would work, but
Yeah.
I think that would be cool. Just adding way more talent, way more stuff than that. Or my last one that I want to put in there is I think
Thunder.
New York Knicks would be so much fun
The Knicks
because
would be fun.
the Knicks need a guy that's overconfident and
The
loves
Thunder
to
wouldn't
shoot
be
the
bad.
ball. We have too many guards on the Thunder. We have way too many guards. I mean, I would take another guard, and put him over Dort, but we'll see. The Thunder would be cool, but I mean, the problem is just Shea is so ball dominant.
Yeah.
Which is why I like that we have Josh Giddey. Shout out Josh Giddey. Happy birthday, by the way. The reason that I like having Shea and Giddey as like our 2 guards right now is that Shea is very ball dominant, like score off the dribble, and Giddey's very create for other people. So like you kind of get a balance of the two. Like you pass to Shea when you need a bucket, you give the ball to Giddey when you need to like
Need to play.
play. You need to play. Or like for instance, you need like the fast break running. You want Giddey with the ball. But when you are like in the like 8 seconds left on the shot clock, we need a bucket.
give it
Like
to Shea.
late in game situations, you're giving it to Shea. Game winners, you're giving it to Shea. So I like the setup they have right now. I wouldn't want to put another ball dominant like needs the ball in his hand guard next to Shea right now. I think what the Thunder are missing is like a 3-and-D catch and shoot guy.
Or a stretch 4.
Or a stretch 4, which we'll
Like
see if we ever
KD?
get that. Yeah. Anyways, so let's move on here. We'll go talk about the NFL a little bit. Dante, you mentioned earlier that you wanted to talk a little bit about fantasy football, and we'll talk about fantasy here. We've got players that have fizzled out in our bus, players that still have a chance to break out, and then who's playing like really good right now that you should have invested in earlier. So, Nico, you want to start? Let's talk about the bus.
The bus.
Yeah.
Kind of looking around the teams that we have ongoing now. I'll say for my, I wouldn't say full bust, but
Can I go first and then you can go, or do you want me to go last?
you can go real quick.
Okay. For my bus, I have any receiver on the Rams that isn't Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Literally, Allen Robinson, Van Jefferson, like
Is he on the
all. Yeah, I mean, he was like hurt for a little bit, and or Van Jefferson's on IR, so that's already a bust.
Okay.
And then Allen Robinson gets like 2 points a game, like it's absurd. So I'm gonna say any player that isn't named Cooper Kupp on the
Any
Rams.
player on the
I'll
Rams.
go. Okay. I'm gonna talk about my guy that I'm mad at right now on my team. It used to be Cole Beasley because I drafted Cole Beasley for a couple years back in the day, and every time I didn't play him, he'd go off. Every time I do play him, he wouldn't do anything. Christian Kirk is that guy for me right now. Christian Kirk had 3 fantastic weeks. Fantastic weeks. He had like 20 points, 18 points, another high 20-point game. I played him last week. He had 7. I played him this week. He has 2. So that's the guy I'm mad at right now. But I'm gonna say a bust that.
That was your boy last week.
Yeah.
You're like, Jaguars got Christian Kirk. They're so good right now.
And then I played him 2 weeks in a row, and he's done nothing.
Maybe you shouldn't play him, and then the Jaguars will be doing better than they have.
Yeah, probably. But the bust that everyone is talking about is Kyle Pitts.
Mm.
Because Kyle Pitts had a lot of talk in fantasy about how he was going to be really good and get him as your tight end 3 or 4 or whatever in fantasy. And he hasn't been doing anything. He is making all fantasy owners who have him on his team very, very frustrated. And I'm a little disappointed with how he's been playing, and I feel bad for all the guys who have him in fantasy. So that's my bust for fantasy right now.
All right, I have 2. It's going to pay me to say this, but it's Najee Harris.
Yeah.
He's a first round pick this year. I mean, our offense is trash, but he's just not having that vision he usually has. And, like, I feel like he's playing hurt a little bit, but he's just getting, like, 1-2 yards a carry, and it's hurting his fantasy stock. So he's being a bust for me right now. And then my other guy is Darnell Mooney. The Bears' offense is abysmal. I think there's, like, multiple players that have, like, more receiving yards or something than
Tyreek Hill had more receiving yards than the whole Bears team.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Darnell Mooney's averaging 5.5 fantasy points a game as a wide receiver 1.
It's crazy.
It's bad.
So he's my other bust.
Can I say one more bust?
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor.
Mm.
He had one great week. I mean, it was against Houston. He had 27 points. Since then, 7 points, 12 points, 3 points. For your number 1 overall pick in fantasy, which I'm sure everyone who had the number 1 pick picked him, he is doing terrible. And I'm glad I don't have him on any of my teams, but
CMC.
that's here. He's barely even playing 2. But for that being your running back 1, number 1 overall pick in fantasy, he hasn't been performing well at all. So
I got another one. Viewed as potentially one of the best one of the better tight ends in the league, top 3 for sure. George Kittle has not done much this year.
Yeah.
I haven't seen much from him.
He was hurt for a little, though.
Yeah, but in the 3 games he's played, he's averaged 6 fantasy points.
Yeah.
So, as a guy that was looked on as, like, one of those guys, I just haven't seen it all from him.
I am mistaken with what I said. He just showed me the stats. CMC is doing pretty good in fantasy right now, so take that back.
Averaging 19 points.
He's doing pretty good in fantasy right now.
That's my boy.
Alrighty. Let's do the opposite. Let's do the counter. Who's really, like, exploded for your team or just in the league in general that you want to highlight?
Austin Eckler is my guy, and I want to thank him, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So the first 3 weeks, 11 points, 18 points, 13 points. Average, decent. I got him with my first pick. I was like the number 4 pick in our draft. In the past 2 weeks, 34 points, 35 points. Thank God that the Chargers are using him and he's getting into space and getting back his touchdowns, and very happy for that. So Austin Eckler has been exploding, and he's looking like a true running back 1 on my team. So thankful for that.
All right, I have 2 again. My first one is Breece Hall. I think last game he had like 2 catches, 100 yards.
Yeah,
he had like almost 200 yards from scrimmage. He's just been playing out of his mind, and I feel like he's on the way to a breakout game sometime in the mid-season. So he's been playing really good over Michael Carter. And then there was one other person that I was looking at. Oh, Clyde.
He has been playing good.
Yeah, he's not really getting the touches, but like his receiving work is great, and Patrick Mahomes seems like he trusts him, so
yeah,
he's surprised me.
All right, I got 2. Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Lions.
Fantastic.
Lions, well, before going into this week, the Lions were like the number 1 scoring offense in the league. Looked absolutely dominant. They couldn't close out games, whatever. Then they come out, lay a goose egg against the Patriots. That's a different story. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, in the games he's played, averaging just under 20 fantasy points a week. Very, very strong. The other one that I was surprised by is Marquise Hollywood Brown from the Cardinals. They traded for him in the offseason, and everyone was like, why are you trading? Or people on the Ravens were like, why are we trading away Marquise Brown? And he's also been doing that, just under 20 fantasy points a game. He's the number one option right now in Arizona, and I'm not sure if that's going to change. When
you don't think it's going to change?
Actually, no, it's definitely going to change.
Yeah,
when Hopkins gets back, it's going to change. But still, he's getting a lot of looks. He's looking very solid. He is a boom for sure if you drafted him in fantasy football this year. All right, next breakout guys. Who is a guy? We'll do like, you don't have to give me both, but either give me a guy that you think will break out or a guy that is starting to break out. So like a guy that was under the radar and is on his way up. So give me that.
I got Curtis Samuel. He's on my team. He hasn't been starting for me because my receivers have been pretty good, but his first 3 weeks, 19, 22, 13, he's averaging 15 fantasy points right now. I drafted him in a way late round. Wasn't really expecting much from him, but he's starting to do good, and I think throughout the season, I think he's still gonna be around that 15-point mark, and I'm happy with his performance. So I think he's gonna be breaking out pretty soon.
So I got two again. My first one is Cortland Sutton. He's been really consistent with getting like around 13, 14 points a game, but I feel like there's just going to be that one game where he goes off for like 25 plus points. And then my other one, I have George Pickens. Hear me out. The Steelers are going to be down a lot in these next 3 games. They're going to have to throw the ball. Pickett to Pickens seems like a great connection already. So I feel like if he's not on a roster in your league, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but you should go get him. He's considered the wide receiver 1 right now for me on the Steelers. So
I've said this before. I think Romeo Doubs is a good pickup for anybody that's looking for a wide receiver, and I think he's like 65% rostered in most leagues, which is up by 20%. So about half the leagues had this guy on rosters. So I still think he's high value guy on the free agency wires, the waiver wires each week that you can probably pick up. I think he's due to slowly become Rodgers' number 1 option, slowly but surely. And then the other one I had was, I think Melvin Gordon is going to start seeing a lot more production just because Javonte Williams went down.
He had 13 points for me, though.
Yeah, I think that I don't think he's going to explode by any means, but I do think he's going to be seeing a lot more points than you initially thought just because of that injury. And now, in turn, he's going to be getting a lot more looks.
The clear running back one.
Passing, and handing it off to him, especially because Russell Wilson can't do anything offensively. So, all right, and now we got like 15 minutes left, so let's do a real quick. We'll do our pick'ems for the next week of games, and then we will do our hot takes, and then we'll get out of here. So next week we've got interesting stuff. This last week there wasn't many great games to pick from. This week there's a couple of decent ones that I want to highlight. I think Kansas City Buffalo, huge. I think that's the game of the week. I want to talk about that one. We'll do Dallas and Philadelphia Sunday night. That'll be a fun one to watch. And then we'll do Minnesota Miami.
All right.
Because I think Tua will be back.
There's talks about it, yeah.
There's talks of that, and that would be a good game if Tua's back.
Yeah.
And then we'll do Baltimore and New York because both those teams Baltimore's not 4-1. They're 3-2, right?
Yeah.
But the Giants are 4-1. So we'll talk about those. So let's start with Minnesota Miami.
All right. All right. It's all gonna depend on, honestly, even if Teddy plays. But I'm gonna go based off Tua. If Tua gets back in the mix, if he is good for the game against Minnesota Week 6, we know what Tua can do with this offense. He was 3-0 with it. He was very explosive, best 3 games of his NFL career, and he gets back in the mix. And there's been questions with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle's health too, but they're all back. They're all good. I think Miami will take that one. But even with Teddy, I'm going to say this. I think it'll be closer than people think with Teddy in there. I'm not going to give you a clear winner with Teddy in there, but Teddy is a competent quarterback. It was questionable if he should have been out the whole game against New York, the Jets, not the Giants. But with Tua back, I got Miami.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Hey, some people might not know which New York team they just played. So yeah, with Tua, I got Miami. With Teddy, it's questionable, but we'll see.
I have the Vikings. The Vikings are going to win this game and cover.
What's the spread on that?
I have no idea, but they're going to cover. Whatever it is, they're going to cover.
All it depends if Kirk Cousins can actually play good because he's so up and down.
Have you seen Kirk Cousins in a 1 o'clock game?
Kirk Cousins at a 1 o'clock game is a different
He's so
animal.
up and down.
He did have I looked at the stats earlier. It was like 300 passing yards, but it was like an interception and a touchdown. So
he's going insane with Justin Jefferson.
Right now the line is Vikings -3.
Oh, yeah, that's easy.
So
We'll see.
do you have anything to add to that?
Nope.
All right. I'm going to take Miami if Tua plays, Vikings if he doesn't.
Okay.
I think if Tua plays, Miami's offense is going to look a lot stronger. I think their defense may be able to contain Kirk Cousins a little bit. I mean, the fact that the Bears did a pretty decent job of slowing him a little bit down, I'm pretty impressed by. Dalvin Cook had 2 touchdowns, though, which is impressive. I will say, though, that if Tua does not play, I think the Vikings will win by double digits.
Really?
I think their defense is like good enough that like they can. They slowed down Aaron Rodgers game 1, but the Packers always play bad game 1. I think the Vikings defense is definitely good enough to like slow down bad quarterbacks and put them to like almost like to make them struggle.
Make them plays they don't
I
want
think
to
against good quarterbacks, the Vikings find issues, but I think against like middle of the road quarterbacks, that's their bread and butter. That's like where they're gonna hold their own. I mean, if you look at their past games, excluding the Packers game, because the Packers always play bad week 1, they play the Eagles 24-7, good quarterback. They play the Lions, middle of the line quarterback, get the win. They play the Saints, middle of the line quarterback, get the win. They play the Bears, middle of the bad quarterback, middle of the line quarterback, they get the win. But all of those wins were pretty close. Yeah. So it's not like they're like necessarily like stopping them, putting a stop to them, but they can do enough to slow them down.
And that's why I say with Teddy there, if Tua doesn't start, I think it'll be a lot closer than people think because Teddy's he's a middle of the line quarterback, but he's Tua. Okay. He's still a competent quarterback that I do think if our offense can get rolling, because we still don't know what our offense looks like with Teddy because he got hurt the first play of the game. But I think with healthy receivers, if Jalen and Tyreek are good to go, I think Teddy could keep us in the game. But we'll see what happens with the quarterback play.
All right, next game is Baltimore at New York, 1 o'clock.
I got Baltimore.
I'm taking the Giants. No, I'm just kidding.
Baltimore is looking scary. I mean, they can't beat the Dolphins or anything, but they are looking scary. Again, Lamar MVP level play. So I think the Baltimore will actually like handle business pretty well in New York, and that'll be kind of a wake up call for the Giants.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got Baltimore.
I agree. I mean, he said it best. Ravens are riding the wave of the win over Cincinnati on prime time, and they're just looking really good.
Yeah, I'm going to also take Baltimore. I think this is New York's true test against like a very potent offense, and we'll see their defense struggle a little bit. Would you rather talk a little bit about Tampa Bay Pittsburgh? Because I think that would be an interesting game with two pretty. Are the Steelers still a good defense now that they don't have T.J. Watt? Or are they just
They
mediocre?
were really banged up in Buffalo, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're nothing like what they would be with TJ Watt.
I'm surprised that, because I mean their secondary looked dominant week 1.
Oh,
but
yeah.
they haven't been
Yeah.
as dominant. Like I get TJ Watt's a big
I
presence
mean-
with the QB pressures and stuff, but
Minka's banged up. Witherspoon's out.
Is Minka out?
No, he played
okay.
against the Bills, but I think it's Terrell. Terrell Edmonds is out, and Sutton's banged up. So we have a lot of injuries, but it's no excuse, or we can't stop. We probably couldn't even stop Tua if.
yeah, Tua is just that elite.
Yeah. That'll be an interesting game, though, because Tampa Bay supposedly has a really good defense as well, although
They've been sluggish.
they
so
have been
I
sluggish.
think we could.
They won.
We
with
could possibly win.
They won with a very questionable roughing the passer call.
Yeah,
I
that
saw
was
that.
so bad against the
So bad.
Falcons.
And then the ref was asked, like, did this thing that happened to Tua, because it was like the same tackle, just Tua was slammed harder, but like someone asked the ref, like, did that play into like your decision? And the ref was like, no, like that had nothing to do with it, but it was just a normal tackle.
Yeah,
on
Tom Brady getting bailed out by the refs. What's new?
Like
All right.
usual.
Next game is Buffalo, Kansas City,
It's gonna be a
425.
good game.
I think we've got an AFC championship preview, possibly,
possibly.
because these two teams, their offenses look absolutely dominant, as well as their defenses looking very strong as well.
Yeah.
So this is a toss-up. What are we gonna do?
I-
It's in Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas, by the way.
I'm a swing with the Chiefs. I think they have been doing really good. It's in Kansas City. It's gonna be. I'm really excited to watch this game because it is gonna be really good. But it's gonna be, I think, like a last possession game.
Yeah.
And I think the last possession will go to Mahomes and the Chiefs, and I think Mahomes will get it done.
Dante.
I have no idea, honestly. I mean, I want to pick the Chiefs, but then I watched Josh Allen tear our defense apart with like 400 passing yards in the first half. But I think I'm going to stick with the Chiefs. They still have Kelsey. They still have Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's in Arrowhead,
Yeah.
so it's going to be a really close game, though.
I am going to take the Bills. So I think Josh Allen has been thinking about this game all season long. I mean, he was a couple plays away from the Super Bowl, or from
coin toss
well,
away.
coin toss away from the AFC
The
championship, which I think they would have beat the Bengals. He was a coin toss away. He was playing out of his mind in that game. Gabe Davis has looked so strong as a wide receiver. I mean, he had what? He had like 3 receptions for like I need to look up his stats, but I looked at halftime and it was like he had 2 receptions for like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
160.
160 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that was only at like halftime.
Yeah.
So he was having himself a Randy Moss type stat line. They look very, very strong. I think their defense, adding Von Miller this offseason, turned their defense around. I mean, I think that they're going to come out. They're going to play. I think this is going to be the best game of the season. I think this will be the game of the season.
I'm expecting that. Was it Rams
Chiefs
and
like
it was just
40
a shootout.
The 50-48 score.
I think it's gonna be like that.
I think it'll be like that as well. I'm very excited for that game. I'm definitely going to tune in for that. But I'm going to take Buffalo in that one.
Yeah.
All right, and then we'll do last one, and then we'll do hot takes really quick. Dallas at Philadelphia, Sunday Night Football.
I got Philly.
You're not rocking with Cooper Rush? He's 5-0 as a starter.
I got Philly. Philly will be a real test for him, you know.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts again playing very good. Philadelphia as a team playing really good. So I think the Eagles are going to move to 6-0 and get the win against the Cowboys.
I'm going with the Cowboys. The Eagles struggled with the Cardinals a little bit. Got bailed out.
They did get
on a missed field goal.
It wasn't necessarily bailed out because
Just poor play.
it was just poor. I think it was poor clock management.
It was, but you got to make that. Like
You
gotta
do have to
that
make
cut.
that, yeah.
But I mean, their main kicker was out, so they had a backup in. You can't always rely on the kicker, but I think the Eagles are going to struggle with the Cowboys. The Cowboys defense is looking really good with like Micah Parsons and
I will say like
Diggs.
Trayvon Diggs has flipped the narrative around him.
Yeah.
Because it used to be like, oh, this is a guy who gets a bunch of interceptions, but he also lets up like 1,000,000 yards. He has like done a lot better in containing some of that like scoring and offense going forward.
So I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one.
I'm not going to lie. I wasn't much of a believer in this Cooper Rush stuff because they're like, oh, he's 5-0 as a starter. Oh, blah, blah, blah. But then you're like, all right, well, let's look at those games. And you're like, oh, Bengals. Or did he play against the Bengals? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're like, oh, Bengals. That's a pretty good win. Oh, well, it's the Giants. Commanders. But then he beat the Rams. And I'm not going to say. Okay, the Rams have been playing bad this year.
It's still the Rams, though.
All right, but they're still the Rams, right? He's still going up against the best cornerback in the league. Mm-hmm. He's still going up against Bobby Wagner in the middle, future All-Pro, Aaron Donald on the line, possibly who people have been saying for the last couple of years is the best player in football, right? And he's going out and winning 22-10, right? So I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's Cooper Rush. You actually have to take this dude kind of seriously when you look at, going forward, what you're going to get from him. That being said, I'm going to take the Eagles. I think that it'll be a lot closer than people realize, and I wouldn't be surprised if I want to see what the spread is on this, because whatever it is, I think Dallas covers. It's 5. I can see Dallas covering that. So I can see Dallas covering that. I can see Dallas losing by a field goal or by 4 points because the Eagles get a touchdown while down 3 or whatever. So I can definitely see them covering. I think this game will be closer than people think, but at the end of the day, Eagles are 5-0. Jalen Hurts is playing really, really good football. He's got the weapons around him. You are right, Dante, in the sense that you can see their games are getting closer ever since that, like, Vikings, they, like, beat them by a lot. Commanders, they beat them by multiple possessions. But then you're like, okay, Jaguars by 8. Okay, Cardinals by 3. And it's, like, not necessarily against, like, teams that are, like, scary. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, if they win by, like, one possession against the Bills, you're like, oh, it's the Bills. But one possession against Jaguars and Cardinals, a different story. So I will agree that although it wouldn't be surprising to see them get beat by the Cowboys, I do think in Philly, with the weapons they have, Jalen Hurts is going to do Jalen Hurts. Yeah. So I think they'll pull out the win, but I think it'll be closer. All right, real quick, let's do hot takes, and then we'll get out of here.
All right, it's going to be a very hot take for you boys, but when Tua comes back and finishes the season, I think Tyreek Hill can make a argument for Opoy. I think with Tua's there, he was number 1 in yards for all receivers. He is top 5 in receptions. His touchdowns are going to go up with Tua. I think the way Tyreek Hill has been playing with his starting quarterback there, putting up numbers, I think he can make a good argument for Offensive Player of the Year
for this
year.
Sure, bro.
So, yeah, there we go.
He has to beat out Justin Jefferson. You know that.
I know, and he was beating out Justin Jefferson with Tua at his quarterback. No. So, we'll just see.
No.
Just see.
All right. I don't really know my hot take. I want to switch it to hockey.
Switch it.
I'm going to switch it to hockey. I'm going to say, I'm going to say I feel like I've said this before, but I'm going to say the Penguins are going to the Stanley Cup final. I said that before, haven't I?
Probably.
Against the Colorado Avalanche, and they win in 7.
You think the Pens win? I heard a little rumor this is the Pens' last shot at the title, and then they're done for.
That's not true. They'll always be in contention with Sidney Crosby.
Well, how much longer does Sidney Crosby have?
I don't know. He's a legend, though, so.
All right.
Probably till he retires.
I'm a move to basketball, and I did this a little bit with Chet Holmgren, where I called it like months prior to even knowing where the Thunder would end up. I was like, he's going to be in a Thunder uniform. Victor Wembanyama is going to be a San Antonio Spur. Book that. Bookmark it. The Spurs are going to be absolute garbage.
They're terrible.
And I think that that's honestly going to be the best landing spot for him. And I think if he lands there, Greg Greg Popovich's career gets extended.
Yeah.
Because I think Popovich has been flirting with retirement, right? He's the all-time wins leader. The team sucks, blah, blah, blah. But if they land Victor, this is like low-key their start to like another dynasty.
An actual
like that's like a Tim Duncan type of pick in that guy.
Yeah.
Like it'll be interesting.
I'm excited to see him.
But I would love to see him in San Antonio. I would also love to see him in OKC. But I think San Antonio will land Victor Wembanyama when the time comes. All right. Thank you guys for watching or listening. We're glad you are supporting us. Check out our Instagram. I'm going to be posting more reels and TikToks and all that stuff throughout the week. If you got any hot takes, send them in. We'll react to them. I think I'm going to put something on our story this week where you guys can like put your hot take below or respond to a video or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, subscribe, like, all that stuff. See you guys next week.
Book it.
All right. See you guys.